I like the loop of uncertainty between a sketch and a production. So that's the kind of, when I understood that this uncertainty itself is a job, I thought, okay, this is something that I really would like to take. I really wouldn't be where I am right now if not for Mantra. I mean, I'm not saying this just because you're here, but I think I'm saying it from, I'm representing my entire batch. It was always an unsaid rule to learn your own way at Mantra. My name is Abishek. Did all its schooling and stuff in Chennai, and then I moved to Bangalore. Like second year or third year was when I realized engineering was not my cup of tea, and then I needed to be in a little bit more creative side of the world. So I started searching for alternate career options apart from engineering. But then I wanted to stick to automobiles, because the reason why I chose mechanical engineering was because I really liked automobiles and wanted to be surrounded by automobiles. I like the loop of uncertainty between a sketch and a production. So that's the kind of, when I understood that this uncertainty itself is a job, I thought, okay, this is something that I really would like to take up. I started looking up at designers. I started looking at people in India, outside India, that had studied transportation design, and then I wanted to understand what is, how their study looks like, and after the study, where do they end up? How do they get a job? Are there any companies in India? Are there any companies abroad? What is the amount of money that I'd be spending? Because monetization, when it comes to studying, was a big thing. I mean, it still is. It is an investment, but I think if I have to go tell my parents that they'll have to put some money on this investment, I really needed some amount of confidence, and I think I built that confidence by going through a lot of profiles on LinkedIn, which I felt was very, very important, and that's one of the mediums through which I found out Mr. Narayan from Ultraviolet as well. And then slowly I started trying to understand more. I started understanding more about design, looking at their work, understanding what a concept design was, understanding what production was, and then I constantly started following a lot of people. So, and that's how I found Mr. Shashank, Mr. Saktiseelan from Ashok Leyland, and then through Narayan's profiles, I would stalk guys from Kiska, Austria, and then stalk people at Ducati, stalk people at Tata Motors. So that is when I realized, okay, this I think this research is quite is very necessary, because only if I know these answers, I'll be able to answer the questions that anybody throws at me, be it my parents or any interview that I give. It's been quite a journey from getting into Mantra after mechanical engineering, and then taking up a design course, which itself was a drastic step. Which itself was a drastic change in the field of study. But then what actually worked for me at Mantra was the kind of mentors I got, was the kind of people I was surrounded by, and the kind of projects that we did. So if this was a rapid fire round, I think a very important answer that I keep telling Shashank and Adityan also is that it's been life changing for almost all of us in my batch. Firstly, coming out of engineering, we had no clue. I mean, we had some idea about transportation design, but then we had no clue where we were heading to. So I think the mentorship and the experience we received at Mantra was something that is unparalleled, is what I'd say. 4 years of engineering and then 6 months of Mantra. The 6 months at Mantra, we learned way more than what we had learned in 4 years of engineering, or maybe even longer. So I think, simply put, I think it's been life changing, because I really wouldn't be where I am right now if not for Mantra. I mean, I'm not saying this just because you're here, but I think I'm saying it from, I'm representing my entire batch. People people like Shashank and Adityan, they understood me very well. They knew what way I'd learn faster and what way I'd be a lot more progressive. So that is something they made sure I did, and it was always an unsaid rule to learn your own way at Mantra. We were very sure that if Abishek was learning in pathway X, he learns in only pathway X, and that's how his learning will work. If somebody else is learning in pathway Y, that's their learning. That's their learning methodology. We were not imposed to have one single learning methodology uh, across the board. So we had various learning methodologies, and I think that sort of brought in multicultural, multifaceted learning across the 12 or 13 days that were there at design and research. So that made the entire experience super interesting and super conducive to learn and grow and be progressive. I'm studying at this school called Strate School of Design. I'm doing my master's and also working with a company called Rapti Energy, where I'm playing a very important and a key role in designing the motorcycle as well as the experience of the entire company, entire brand. So if I were to join an OEM, I would probably be an intern where I'd be designing a very small component of a big vehicle. But then when if I get into a startup, I knew that I wouldn't just be designing the motorcycle, but I'd also be working on the prototyping of the motorcycle. I'd be, I mean, not motorcycle, but a vehicle itself. So I'll be able to, realize what I've put on paper in in physical. Like I'll be able to sit on it, I'll be able to ride it, I'll be able to drive it. So that was I wanted to be able to do all of these things as a transportation designer. When I joined Rapti, I was the only designer. I was the first and only designer, and the team was only about 6 to 7 people. Right after that, we started designing the motorcycle. I started putting motorcycles on the wall. They really liked how their vision of the motorcycle was put together on a sketch or was put together in a render and was presented to them. So after that, it was only up and ahead. Work on multiple projects. Don't really worry about the end result. End result will happen automatically. End result, I feel, is a byproduct of the entire process. So if at all I have to sketch, if I know that my first 10, 15 sketches in the morning when I do for my warm-up are probably not going to be the best sketches. But then the 11th, 12th, 13th sketch, I know that I'm starting to put my idea onto paper. 14th, 15th, and 16th sketch, I probably know that I'm refining the 11th, 12th, and 13th idea. So that's how I think that I think is a process. So in order to get a really good sketch, I know that I need to do 15 sketches. But if I had to just come sit on my table and then start sketching, do one single sketch per day, I don't think that works. I think doing one sketch is the result, but doing these 15 sketches to understand how good that one sketch has to be is the process that I feel will work for most of us. Where I started was my interest towards sketching. So understanding what somebody's interest is, I think, is the most important aspect. Not sketching alone is not going to make somebody a good transportation designer. Rendering alone or 3D modeling alone is not going to help somebody become a transportation designer. Although these are very, very good starting points. For me, sketching was my starting point. I thought, okay, I'm going to sketch cars and I'm going to make money out of it. And that's initially how I started. But then what I understood was designing was not just about sketching cars. It was not just about putting really, really good sketches on paper and sending it to the team. And again, not forgetting the fact that it was a really, really good starting point. So I started off with sketching, and if I had to tell why sketching, I think that was my most important go-to hobby that I do when I get bored at engineering or I mean, it sort of helps me be creative. I'd probably keep sketching on my textbooks and notebooks in my engineering school and back in my school days. So that's how it started. But going further, being flexible enough to understand what design is and evolving your process based on that is very important. So when I joined Mantra, I knew that sketching was my forte and that's how I'm going to take it further. But then 3 or 4 months down the line, I realized sketching was a tool. Taking it further, taking it into showing ideas to people, showing ideas to different stakeholders, I realized I needed more skill set. So what I'm trying to say is not having a horse eye magnet uh, view itself will be a very good skill, will be a very is a very necessary skill to understand to be a designer. You can sketch, you can render, you can do 3D modeling. All these are skill sets that you can acquire through learning and practice. This is something that you can do with if you have utmost interest in doing it. This is not just going to be enough. What you need is a very interesting, very different mindset. Like I said, you should not have uh, I mean, this is what I personally feel. You should not have a horse eye view. You need to have a very broad view. You should be able to see things in a very holistic way as well as in a very detailed manner. And trying to understand and practicing this itself requires a very flexible mindset. You learn and don't expect that to be the end of learning. You always learn. You keep learning. You constantly learn. And based on your learnings, your end goals keep changing. End goals keep varying. Stage one, learning one, goal one. Once you've attained it, it becomes stage two, learning to goal two. And I think that's what is very important for anybody that's starting off at design. The skill set that I quite lack at this point in time is my marketing skills, and I think I really would like to improve that, which I think is a very, very important skill set when it comes to transportation design, when it comes to design itself, because you have an idea, and if you have to, portray that idea in front of your competitors and various stakeholders, I think you should be able to market it. That is number one. Number two, I think I need to improve my image communication, visual communication per se. So if I communicate certain things with imagery, I need to make sure that my imagery stands up. My imagery, sort of pops out over. It stands one above the crowd and not one with the crowd. So I think that's something that I'm really working on right now. And the other skills that I'm working on are also to sort of aid the visual imagery, visual communication skills. It's predominantly, being 3D, understanding 3D renders, and then 3D printing, prototyping, refining my sketching style, understanding if I need to stick to one particular style, uh, trying to understand different avenues of sketching, trying to understand different media of sketching, trying to understand different media of renders and all of these things. So yeah, I think skill set wise, I'm constantly evolving from where I learned, where I am, and where I probably envision myself to be. 2 years goal would be to have a really nice portfolio and be able to finish my project and showcase it to the world and probably be able to be a customer at Rapti and own the motorcycle as well. So that would be my 2 year goal, 1 or 2 year goal. Long term goal, I think 5 or 6 year goal. I envision myself. Uh, I really don't know if I'd be working with an OEM or startup or anything of that sort, but I really envision myself to be at the helm of taking decisions at a company, be it at the creative level, design level, or branding level, because these three are things that I predominantly focus on. These three are things that require a lot more creative inputs on. So I envision myself to be at that level